All right, good evening and welcome to the August 23rd, 2021 City of Helena City Commission meeting. Thank you for participating in the City of Helena's Commission meeting. We're pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's efforts to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during this meeting. We welcome your public commentary and please read the tips and guidelines if you're viewing from home on app usage and participation. If you're viewing online, you're going to enter the meeting automatically muted. Closed captioning can be utilized by tapping the live transcription button down the Zoom toolbar. I'll call for public commentary after each action item on the agenda. You'll be unmuted when acknowledged by either myself or the clerk of the commission. If you're unable to use the raised hand feature, feel free to offer public commentary using either the question and answer feature or the chat feature. Questions will be recorded but not necessarily answered directly. If you are a phone-in listener, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute or unmute. If you're offering public commentary, please identify yourself with your first name and last name. At the end of the meeting, there's a general public commentary agenda item. You may use this time to speak on any item that was not listed on the agenda. If you need any assistance using the software, please refer to the link that appears on the screen. Madam Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
City Attorney Joden.
Here.
City Manager Harlow Shulk.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Halliday.
Here.
And for the record, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Collins will be in attendance. He will just be a few minutes late.
Okay, please rise with me and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The regular commission meeting minutes, April 19th, 2021. Is there anything we need to do with that, Madam Clerk?
Mayor Pro Tem, I believe unless any member of the commission has any edits or any changes to the minutes, then I would ask that they be approved.
Okay. If anybody has any speak now, or we're going to deem them approved. Okie doke, they are approved. That brings us to board appointments. Commissioners, I think we got circulated quite an extensive packet and recommendations for board appointments this evening. Any discussion or questions? Not seeing any. I had one maybe for the manager or the clerk. I saw that we have one on there for the airport board, which I know that we're essentially currently in some sort of negotiations with. Do we know if we did any sort of vetting or discussion about whether, this city's representative is someone who's representing the sort of city and airport's interest in a continued symbiotic relationship, or if we're appointing someone who's going to continue sort of the adversarial stance that the airport has taken with regard to the payment of assessments?
I'll go ahead and start, Commissioner and Mayor Pro Tem. The appointment of this person to the board did not receive a review without analysis by my office.
Okay.
In response to that, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, as you, I'm sure, are aware, the appointment of the boards is a recommendation by the mayor. He reviews applications, and then this application was brought forward to you at the administrative meeting for discussion at that time. It was not my understanding, this was last week, that there was any objection to the appointment at that time.
No, and I apologize. I wasn't there and I wasn't stating an objection. I was just curious. I mean, we've had that question before of appointing people to boards who take adversarial positions to the city in general. I just didn't know if that had been a discussion or come up since I wasn't at that meeting.
None that I'm aware of. No, Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem.
If I may, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not aware of any reason that the city would have a concern over this appointment.
Okay. Well, then, motion if anybody wants to make one.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I will move the appointment of Bob Hibberly to an interim appointment on the Helena Airport Authority Commission. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on September 1st, 2022. Appointment of Tracy Eagleline to a first term on the Board of Adjustments. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on August 31st, 2024. The appointment of Michael McCabe to a first term on the City County Consolidated Planning Board as a city representative. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on September 1st, 2024. The appointment of Alyssa Sorensen to an interim appointment on the City Zoning Commission. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on September 30th, 2023. The appointment of Sean Morrison to an interim appointment on the Helena Business Improvement District. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on October 31st, 2023. The appointment of Judy Nielsen to an unexpired term on the Helena Housing Authority. Term will begin upon appointment and expires on August 1st, 2026. Appointment of David Briganti to a second term on the Helena Housing Authority as the resident representative. Term will begin upon appointment and expires on August 1st, 2023. Appointment of Lise Zubran-Giro to a second term on the Helena Housing Authority as a housing commissioner. Term will begin upon appointment and expires on August 1st, 2026. The appointment of Grant Jackson to a first term on the Helena Open Lands Management Advisory Committee. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on June 30th, 2024. The appointment of Maxwell Hay to an interim appointment on the Helena Public Arts Committee. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on December 31st, 2022. The appointment of Helen Paulson to an interim appointment on the Helena Public Arts Committee. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on December 31st, 2023. And the appointment of Megan Harrington to an interim appointment on the Helena Public Arts Committee. Term will begin upon appointment and expire on December 31st, 2023.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Halliday.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Great. That brings us to the consent agenda. Item A, claims, and B, adoption of the official zoning map. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to request you introduce and entertain a motion to adopt on consent the claims paid on July 20th, July 23rd, and July 30th in the amount totaling $2,386,017.95. As well, entertain a motion to adopt on consent the revision to the official zoning map. The zoning map was last adopted in 2019, and this brings to current all of the amendments that have already come before the commission. There are no surprise amendments within this zoning map. This just revises the compilation of all zoning changes and revisions within the city since the last adoption in 2019, in December of 2019. Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone want to remove anything from the consent agenda or have any questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm happy to make a motion. I'll go ahead and move the consent agenda, item A, claims, and item B, adoption of the official zoning map for the city of Helena with a revision date of August 31st, 2021.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any public comment on these items?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no hands raised online. I have no written public comment, and it appears no one in chambers is here to make public comment on these items.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Halliday.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Great. That brings us to communications and proposals from commissioners. Anything this evening from the commission? Not seeing anything, so we'll move on to the report of the city attorney.
Mayor Pro Tem, nothing to report this evening.
Okay, thank you. To the report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple of items. I just wanted to make sure that the commission was aware that through January 18th of 2022, Transportation Secretary, the Transportation Security Administration has revised and extended its mask wearing requirements on public transit. So want to make sure that everyone is aware that until January 18th of 2022, masks will be required within our capital transit bus system. And I believe that brings us to an update on projects that was requested by Commissioner O'Loughlin. And these 3 project updates include Rodney Street, Benton, and Euclid. And Director Leland is here to provide that update.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, commissioners. First, I want to we'll go over quickly that our team has developed a project map that is out on the website now that is going to be a very useful tool. And I want to thank Jake Garson, Haley Drecky, and Scott Razanoff for developing this map. It is really something that we've been wanting for a while, and they were able to take it and get it across the finish line. It brings in all our different projects at the different stages, and you can click on it. It's interactive, and it sort of gives you an update of what the project is, where it is, who's designing it, and then to be able to go forward. And then with that, if we can get it, once we get it up there, we can actually take a look at it. But to go over some of the major projects that we have is Rodney Street. That's one everyone is looking at, and going forward, it's going fairly well. We have part of it, the first half already paved, and curb and gutter. We still need to do a lot of the landscaping, but that portion is done. Then the second half, the upper towards Rodney Street from 6th to Rodney, is under construction with the utilities. And we are looking to have that project done, completed in October 15th or around that time, middle of October. The west side, we are finishing up paving of phase 2, but that is going to go on winter shutdown because of the lift station that is going to be required. We just cannot get any pumps at this time and any of the mechanical stuff. It's 13 weeks out. So it just, we're at the mercy of the shipping industry right now and the manufacturing. So it's probably not going to start up till early next spring to get that lift station in line, but the rest of it will be completed, and except for portion of phase 2, it'll be operational to be able to move forward. Other items that are out there is the Hare Street storm sewer that was by the Capitol, and then over by Bryant School, we were replacing and upsizing some of our older mains, and so we were able to get that completed. We are doing some influent valve and some valve work at the Missouri River plant once that shuts down. Lawrence and Warren, pretty much everything on the hard surface is complete. We are just doing the landscaping there, and then the striping will be done. It'll take about 2 weeks, and it'll be done 1 week before school. So that'll be a good project to get done. We're still figuring out the funding and design for Knight Street and the 6th Warren sidewalk. The contracts have been signed, and then we're going to look at getting the project started. I can go on and on with a whole bunch of different projects. We have filter projects on the Missouri River plant. We have groundwater wells. We have chip seal. We have Chessman Dam manhole. So I could go through the whole, all our projects that are out there, but in time, if you have any specific comments, then I can go through them. But this is our interactive map that you can go and take a look at. And this one is the Neal intersection. It was completed in 2020, 13. It has a lot of information to try and come up with when the project was actually completed the year before. So people have those questions and know how much the money was. And then the blue is for studies that we are completed, like the 5-point intersection. And then we can zoom out and go to Rodney Street, and it's under construction. We're looking at October, and gives you a quick overview of what the project is and who you can contact if you need further information. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Or
Thank you, Director. Just two questions. Benton and Euclid, I'm sorry if I missed an update on Benton and Euclid. Could you quickly just summarize two updates?
Oh, Benton, yep. I'm sorry, I forgot that one. Benton and Euclid, the project, all the hard paving is done. We had to put the concrete and we have to wait for it to cure. And so it's going to be another week before the striping is in, but it is operational and working. The tar is actually working as the striping would, but we will have the permanent striping done next week. And so that project will be essentially complete, and then we will do the final payment on that.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Leland?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Sure.
I have one question. So as projects are coming online, are you all going to be adding them as they're budgeted or planned, or do you have an idea of, what the timeline is as to when projects start coming onto this and when they'll come off?
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner, the plan is, and this is a living document, and we're going to keep updating it, but the original proposal is going to be the previous year. We will leave them on for complete until the previous year, then take it off. And then once they become budgeted, we are going to put an overview on it of where the project is, and then give you an update of in design or where we are at. So we're just going to wait until it's budgeted to actually put it on there, because that's when we consider it an actual project.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, I had one quick question.
Sure.
So did you say that it's phase 2 of Rodney Street that it's getting pushed to 2022?
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner, we are doing the design, and it's looking with the way the construction season is and the contractors. We are going to bid it this fall, because I don't feel comfortable to try and bid this project right now. It's going to be too expensive. So we are going to push it till winter to bid it, and then start construction in the spring.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I heard that right. So could you actually just scroll back in, zoom back into a description of phase 2, which I think would be that. Okay, so it looks like it's still indicating that it's going to be completed fall of 2021. So I just want to make sure that looks like maybe it needs to be updated so that the public, this is an awesome tool. So I just want to make sure that accurately reflects.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner, I apologize. That's a typo. We never were going to look at have it at 2021. I think it was a miscommunication on phase 1. So we will get that updated. This is a beta version sort of to go live. And I see a few other errors that we just missed, like Kevin Harrington is still out there. So we are going to correct those within the week.
Any other questions for Mr. Leland? All right, thank you, Mr. Leland. Anything else from the city manager?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. There's nothing more at this time. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to communication from the Helena Citizens Council. Do we have a representative on this evening?
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission. My name is Benjamin Kuiper. I am a representative of District 2 of the Helena Citizens Council. So our next meeting will be this Wednesday, August 23rd at 7. The meeting will be held on Zoom and the meeting's open to the public. You can find the meeting info on our website, helenacitizenscouncil.com. So during this meeting, we will swear in the members who are appointed to fill vacant seats between the last election and now. We had quite a few people appointed, so we're going to do our oaths of office at that meeting. Additionally, we're pleased to have the City of Helena's Public Information Officer, Jacob Garson, as our guest speaker. So we'll continue to meet remotely via Zoom for the rest of the calendar year. Our executive team is in the process of securing an in-person venue for the start of 2022, but I believe a remote option will still remain in place. They'll keep you updated as the process unfolds. And that's all I have to report. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem and Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Kuiper. Commissioners, anything for Mr. Kuiper? All right, seeing nothing, we will move on to our regular items. And the first is item A, a resolution removing one street light. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This item is, I also want to make sure and you're aware that for all lighting district questions this evening, both City Attorney Joden are here as well as Director Danielson. In the case of this district lighting item, it is number 10A, and it is a resolution between the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Rank, located at 510 West Lawrence Street. Excuse me. And they worked with Northwestern Energy to resolve an issue on the brightness of a light in their behind their home. And the light and the best solution as discovered was to eliminate the nuisance and request Northwest Energy to remove it, which they have agreed to do. This removal of the light is considered a minor modification to the special improvement lighting district, and the commission can consider the amendment with the proposal.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for the manager, the city attorney, or Director Danielson?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I do have a question. So on this one for the ranks, I know we had started getting emails and this had all started, I think, like well before the city manager even came to the city. And I know that they were very patient and trying to work through things. And I'm wondering if there is a way we can contemplate a better process to expedite this kind of thing. I don't know if there's an answer to it, but I know that they were always very understanding and patient with things, but I think this is coming to us like more than a year after we started hearing about it. And just curious if the city manager or others might have ideas about how we can maybe improve this kind of process moving forward.
Mayor Pro Tem, would you like a?
Sure.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Commissioner Dean. I'll go back and talk with the staff about the process itself. It does appear that because it was within a district and it has the support of Northwest Energy, that there was some work with them that they were doing, but I don't know how long that takes, and we'll definitely want to come back around. I think overall on lighting districts, and I know that Director Danielson has on her list really this process and the number of districts we have, and overall that is one of the asks I've had of her this year after we complete the budget. It's one of the larger projects that she has on the list. But as part of that, I'll ask that she include a process review and working with the city attorney's office, see if we can't change some of that up to make it faster if we can.
Commissioners, any other questions? Hearing none, we will open public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on item 10A?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Madam
I have
Clerk.
no hands raised online. I have no written public comment, and it appears no one in chambers is here to speak on this item.
Okay, then we will close public comment. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I will move to approve a resolution removing one streetlight in the alley behind 510 West Lawrence Street from Special Improvement District Lighting District number 362 in the city of Helena, Montana.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, actually, I do have a question. I wasn't sure if we would get any public comment, but so I guess this question will be directed to the city staff. In removing a light, does it go through the same sort of public protest process? And then my second follow-up question is, does the city weigh in, and perhaps this is really a question for Northwestern more than the city, but how do we weigh kind of the public safety component of removal of one specific streetlight within a district?
Thank you, Commissioner. The lighting district overall, the process itself and the protest process is run by our finance team along with the city attorney's office, and Director Danielson can provide that update.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. When there's a minor modification to a lighting district, such as this one, a protest period is waived. It's not necessary. This particular light is being removed based on the petition received from the residents that are around the particular light. There were, I believe, 6 or 7 persons that signed the petition. They originally worked with Northwestern Energy to try to resolve the brightness in the light. And I think that took some time for them to work with Northwestern Energy. And at such time, they came to a resolution that it was not, there was no solution to the brightness coming into the backyard of the resident. And so that's what prompted the petition. We received that in our office in May. And I'm now bringing it forward to the commission for consideration. So to answer your first question, the protest period is not necessary for a minor modification. In regards to the second question, as far as the public safety, I personally have not taken that into consideration. I know that the lighting districts can be petitioned and amended by the residents, as well as the developers that request to create lighting districts. And I don't know that there's a process for public safety consideration in either adding or removing lights from a district.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have no other questions or comments.
All right, commissioners, any other questions? Okay, I think we have a motion and a second, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Halliday.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
Okay, that brings us to item 10B. A resolution amending a special lighting district. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and would like also to point out that we actually think you might want to go ahead and move the next item until we can have a full commission in place. Item 10C. If there were to be a vote on item 10C and the commission were to tie, we have to start the process all over. And the best thing and recommendation that we have for you on 10C until we have a full commission is to table this item for the next agenda or move it down when we believe the mayor may be on. So getting to item 10B, this resolution amends the special district SILD number 225 and adds in 29 lights within the district. This lighting is at a cost, once added, will be part of a cost of maintenance, supply, electrical and supplying of electrical energy, as well as administration, which the property owners within that district will take on. It will add an additional $14,000 per year or 0.01813 cents per square feet of property owned, effective within the tax year 2021.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions on this agenda item? Seeing none, we will open public comment on agenda item 10B. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on item 10B? Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no hands raised, no written public comment, and no one in chambers here to make public comment on this item.
Okay, then we will close public comment on item 10B. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Go
I'll make a
ahead.
motion. I would move to approve a resolution amending resolution number 20411 that created special improvement lighting district number 225 in the city of Helena, alter the boundaries of and add 29 streetlights in SILD number 225.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Halliday.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0.
All right, that brings us to regular item 10C, which the manager has recommended we either delay to a subsequent agenda until a full 5-member commission is present, or we move it down in our agenda this evening. What's the three of y'all's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm comfortable with moving it.
To another meeting or just down the agenda, and we'll see if the mayor gets here.
I think maybe just down the agenda and if the mayor doesn't happen to get here by then, we can revisit it.
Okay. Anybody have a problem with just shifting this down? We'll just move it past all the public hearings.
Sounds fine.
Okay, great. So for anyone here for item 10C, it's being adjusted. It'll appear after item 11B at this point. Sorry if you are on. We're just going to try to make sure that we can have a full commission for this agenda item. So that'll bring us to public hearings. Item 11A, a demolition permit for a garage at 400 Flowery. Madam Manager or Ms. Haugen?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Do have Director Hogan here from our community development team to discuss the demolition of a garage at 400 Flowery Street, and that approval be contingent upon receipt of and review by the Helena and Lewis and Clark County Heritage Tourism Council of a revised site plan. Director Hogan.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, this evening you have before you the consideration of demolition permit for garage at the 400 Flowery Street. If some of you may recall, it's been a while since you've had a demolition permit, but under Title 3, I believe it's chapter the 14 or one of the chapters outlines the process whereby if a building is either primary or contributing to a historic district, then there is a formal process within the city that they must go through. Their process really quickly is they first determine whether or not the property is contributing or primary. In the case, the flowery address is a contributing property to the district, both a house and the garage. In that case, then they have to go in front of the Heritage Tourism Council to review their plans and to have them present their proposal in terms of that demolition and also looking at future plans for that particular piece of property. They have done that. They've been working with Pam Tardo from our Historic Preservation Office. It's unfortunate that Mr. Tardo cannot be here this evening, but she did send me, we corresponded prior to the meeting, and she is aware that we have recommended approval with those conditions. The Heritage Commission did meet and they do have a recommendation. So if the commission approves this permit tonight, then the next step is that the building division will issue a demolition permit for this property. However, there are some modifications that need to be done to the current plan design, and those will have to be resubmitted to the building division because right now the older set of plans themselves have been submitted to the building division. So those will be some revisions that will take place with regard to this. So I don't know if I'm still. So this is the location. Location is in terms of Flowery. And on the location of Flowery, it is a house and a garage. It's been there for quite a few times. If you read quite a few years, if you read through the historic materials, it's been there. It is a contributing property. And this is one of our oldest districts in the community, the Helena Historic District, and it has some of our more landmark buildings. I'll just quickly outline the process. The property owners, again, have been working with the Heritage Tourism Commission. They did hold a public hearing. The property owners both were in attendance, and they did hear some of the questions and concerns that the HTC had. And at the end of the hearing, the HTC is recommending to the commission that they grant a demolition for a garage at 400 Flowery, and that the approval be contingent upon receipt of a review by the Heritage Tourism Council of a revised site plan, and that would include the building plan itself. It's my understanding that the property owners may be online through Zoom and they may have an additional comment under public comment. But for now, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Here's a picture of what the elevation of what the completed project would be. The current garage does not have a living quarters as designed and proposed by the property owner. They're looking to not only build the garage, but also have a living quarters above, thereby increasing the potential density of the lot, but that is allowed under the zoning and is a new addition of an additional housing unit within the community and within this district. The recommended motion from staff is to approve the granting of a demolition for the garage at 400 Flowery, and that the approval be continued upon the receipt of a review by the Heritage, the Helena, Lewis and Clark County Heritage Tourism Council of a revised plan. Staff would be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this proposal.
So thanks, Ms. Haugen, and I see the mayor is back at this point, so I will turn it over to Mayor Collins.
You won't even allow me to take a breather, right? Do we have any comments or questions from the commission on this resolution before we move forward? From the commission?
I have a question for Ms. Haugen, maybe, or the city attorney, just on process. I know we kind of dabbled with this before, I think with a house either up on sort of Adams or Howie area where something similar came up. The HTC sort of said, well, we're conditionally approving it, but we want to see the plans. And it was a little clunky. The property owner was okay with sort of the general recommendations, but there was a question of how that approval process would really work. And what if the property owner went back to the HTC and the HTC said, we don't like your plan, and does it have to come back to the commission again? So just maybe walk us through what these sort of conditional plan resubmittal processes look like, because it's not clear to me how they've worked in the past.
So, I don't know if Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Mayor, and Commissioner Halliday. So there were some specific things that the Heritage Commission identified during the course of the hearing. The property owners consented and agreed that those would be they would be good revisions or revisions that would work with their long-term plans. If they're on the line, they can add to any additional information. One of the things that happens within the Heritage Tourism Commission when they set those recommendations or additional alterations to the building itself, there's no guarantee that they would be or would affect the some building code provisions. So that is why we have them submit the plans to them. But if we should find that the plans no longer would fit the building code, then we would work with both the Heritage Tourism Commission, the property owner, and the building code to revisit that proposal as part of that submission. We won't have, if the commission sets this, and until we have a review from the Tourism Council, and I have confirmation from that office that they have reviewed and tentatively approved, because technically they don't have the authority to approve a plan but recommend approval. But if that's the commission's desire, we will view that as the approval, similar to an approval. Then they can submit their full plans back to the building division and then go ahead with the plan issuance and the construction. Right now, what is pending is just the demolition permit itself. So I don't know if that answered your question, Commissioner Halliday.
Yeah, maybe just to the short sum up is, if we approve this tonight under the form recommended, the plan will go back to the HTC at some point for a formal vote or meeting. And if that's approved, then the commission won't see anything again, right? This will just go forward, but the HTC gets the final say based on our vote tonight. Am I understanding that correctly?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, that process is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments? Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I do have one hand raised. I do believe this is Mr. Stevens, who is the applicant.
Go ahead, sir.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is Hannah Warhank and Dan Stevens. We're the property owners. And we just wanted, maybe we first could address Commissioner Halliday's question. We have made the suggested changes to the plans that the HTC recommended, and we passed them on to Pam Attardo and the HTC. Pam is going to recommend their approval to the HTC, and Tom O'Connell, who is the architect on the HTC, also is going to recommend approval, and they plan to meet on those tomorrow night.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Do you have any other comments from the public? Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no other hands raised. I've received no written public comment online, and there appears to be no one in chambers to make public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, before we take a vote, I just wanted to briefly disclose that, and I've consulted with the city attorney, and I've been advised that I do not need to recuse myself, but I wanted to provide full transparency that the applicant in the property is directly next door to a family member And just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Notice taking. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'd move to approve the granting of a demolition for a garage at 400 Flowery Street, and that approval be contingent upon receipt of and review by the Helena, Lewis and Clark County Heritage Tourism Council of a revised site plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final comments from the commission? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Halliday,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Let's see, we jumped over an item due to my absence, so I think we'll go back to it, if that's okay. A resolution creating special improvement lighting district number 399 in the city of Helena, Montana. Madam Holshaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Also have Director Danielson and the city attorney are available for any questions you might have about this item. This resolution creates special improvement lighting district number 399. This district had already been reviewed by the commission and it was brought forward again for review. The process was restarted and notice was sent out in the community, and Director Danielson can provide more details on that process for you.
You have the floor, Director Danielson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager. Yes, we sent out all the notifications again after the commission approved the resolution of attention to reconsider this creation of this special improvement lighting district. We received 3 public comments and 9 official protests against the creation of this lighting district. I also reached out to Northwestern Energy because the commission did have some questions about the cost of these lights. And their Northwestern Energy's response is in the packet to the commission. They did not specifically provide a matrix, which I believe is what the commission requested as far as the cost of the lighting. However, they did provide an explanation of how the lighting costs are crafted and formulated in order to provide the city with what it costs to provide the infrastructure and the continued energy costs of the lighting. That is in the packet. At this time, I can be available for questions.
Thank you, Director Danielson. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
this is just a clarification because I thought I had saw it, I had seen it in here, but it's 105 properties, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, okay. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe just a question, Ms. Danielson. So we get these, the city gets these requests for a lighting district. How do we assess as commissioners, right, when we get some protest letters that express incredulity at the costs and we see a differential of, I think there were some numbers quoted in there from either yourself or Mr. Spurgeon, of what the different per square foot property cost. How does the commission, how does your office analyze that to determine whether the rate is reasonable, whether it's necessary and proper for the running of the district? I mean, how do we make that call as a commission for any given district like this one being created?
Commissioner, I guess I'm not understanding the question, whether you're asking it of me or if you're asking it of the commission.
Well, I guess it's both, right? I mean, the commission has to approve it and you all are recommending it. And I guess, how do we know if we were told that we had to do $900 a house, how would we know that that number is legit? We're being told we have to do 400 and change, right? Or do two times it for 1 year. I'm just trying to understand from the standpoint of someone who has to, right? If an individual in this district is frustrated and says, well, how do people even decide to put this cost on me? And I say to them, well, Northwestern told me to. And I'm just curious whether the city has a metric for how your office determines that the number that we're doing is proper and correct for the residents, right? Because it's not Northwestern imposing it, we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does, Commissioner. I do evaluate this compared to the cost of other lights. We have a matrix in our office that we have to calculate the assessment every year on, and it all depends on it. You know, there is no one average cost of a light per resident in the city of Helena, because the creation of the lighting district depends on many factors. It depends on the number of property owners. It depends on what the square footage of those properties are within the district. And it also depends upon the number of lights. We have lighting districts that, if you look back to the assessment that was passed, can range, you know, anywhere between, you know, 0.0012 per assessed square feet, value of square feet, to this particular one, which is on the higher end at 0.0612 cents per square feet. But it can vary, you know, from one end of the spectrum to the other based on those factors that I mentioned.
If I may,
Please.
Mayor. As far as those rates are set, those rates are not set by the city, or are they set? Director Danielson, the question I had for the city attorney just a minute ago was whether or not the city has a role in that, or if that's the Utilities Commission and how that works in a very broad sense. I understand that's the Utilities Commission in a broad sense, but the city does not assess those or analyze the rate structure itself that is being charged by the energy company. Is that correct?
Thank you, City Manager. No, the costs that are provided when we're establishing or creating a lighting district, or we're amending a lighting district to add more lights, that infrastructure cost and energy cost is analyzed and prepared by Northwestern Energy and provided to the city to create or amend the lighting district. Each their year after, however, the energy costs, the actual energy costs, are reviewed by the city, and we establish the assessment every year based on the actual energy costs that the city has to pay.
Thank you.
Do you have any other comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I guess a follow-up question I have, and this goes back to the question I had asked for the item a few ago with the light that was removed, in terms of how we can improve our process. Would you all include in that, you know, a mechanism to make sure that something like, I know it's not our fault, the city's fault, that it fell through the cracks 20 years ago, but is there a mechanism that we can utilize so that, you know, I mean, I completely understand why some property owners are, you know, some of the protests have said, no one said anything to me 20 years ago when I purchased this property, and, you know, I didn't know this was going to be happening. And I, you know, totally understand that. And I'm wondering how we can maybe help make sure this doesn't happen in the future for others.
City Manager, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Dean. Yeah, we are looking at our procedures for this. The city is at right now, when any lighting district is created or amended, people are petitioning the city, and we're merely processing that petition, and then, as the taxing authority for the city, able to assess the costs. When I first got here to the city, I was like, well, why is it Northwestern Energy doing this? That's their lights. Why is the city? It's because they don't have the taxing authority to do this. I did talk to the community development director at one point and asked, if it was in their process when development comes through, if this is on their checklist, and it's not currently part of their processes to make sure that someone petitioned the city to create the light district. Those processes, though, are currently being evaluated and reviewed, and that's part of my task, is to look at whether or not we can make improvements so that something like this does not happen again. But with our current mechanisms, we're just waiting. The city just waits for somebody to petition us, and then we process it.
Well, just a follow-up comment. I know that, there are neighborhoods 50 years ago when below LeGrand and University and all of that was getting developed, the neighborhood made a very specific decision that they did not want lights, and they wanted to preserve, the dark space around Mount Helena and the rest. And I think that that's, we know that that was a very conscious decision. I don't think this was a conscious decision of, this development. And so I think figuring out how we can make sure that those checks and balances are in place moving forward would be excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments? Director Danielson, you got someone behind you.
Thank you.
Mayor Collins, members of the commission, my name is Rick Edwards. I'm the Director of Community Connections at Northwestern Energy. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you today. With me, I do have Miss Sarah Norcott. She's one of our corporate counsel. And then online virtually is Howard Shervum, who's our community relations manager. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for reconsidering the creation of this district. We as a company appreciate what you're doing, and I know your customers will as well. First of all, before I go through just a few very brief comments, I did want to respond to one of the comments that was made a second ago in regard to us not providing a matrix. That matrix was in the response that we provided. It was actually in the link that was provided within the response that Mr. Shervum did send. So I would refer you to that. And if you do not find it, just let one of us know and we'll gladly send that again. Just a couple things. From our company's perspective, we support the creation of this district, and we believe it's in the best interest of the residents within this district. Just a little bit of a recap that kind of goes along with what was said. In this particular area, there's 105 property owners, 50 different lights. They're acorn style lights, so they're nice lights. As was mentioned, there were 9 responses that came back, referred to as protests, but in reality, there were 5 protests. There were 2 that were informational kinds of responses, if you will, and then 2 others that we will resolve once we put in the LED lights. They were more concerns in terms of brightness and things such as that. Once this is approved with your permission, all the lights would match in that entire Skelton subdivision. As mentioned, these lights were put in back in 2003 or 4, and they were never built. And we'll take full ownership of that. We, in addition, are changing our procedures to make sure that this doesn't happen. But I will tell you that the ownership cost that's being considered for this particular district is based upon the original cost when those lights were installed. So back on the 2003, 2004 costs. So from that perspective, I think it's favorable to your customers. Comparing that cost to one over in the Sandpiper area where you recently approved that street lighting district, costs were a little bit higher. And again, it's just the timing in terms of materials, costs, labor, those sorts of things. So with that, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, I would respectfully request approval of this particular street lighting district and be available for any questions, as would Ms. Norcott or Mr. Shervin.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions from the commission? Just one.
Sure.
With the cost that you stated from 2003, 2004, how long would that cost remain?
Well, that's the cost that's actually used to create the ownership charge that they would be charged. So that charge stays in place until down the road at some point, if there was a general rate case filing, then that cost could be subsequently modified. But again, it's reflective of all of the lighting plant really across the system.
Thank you.
Yes.
Comments from the commission? Madam Clerk, any public
Just a
comments?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Maybe a question for Mr. Edwards. Just tell me about the Northwestern's like public outreach communications with the property owners in approaching the petition in this case, before it petitioned the city.
In this particular case,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Halliday, to my knowledge, we did not reach out to any of the property owners ourselves. I believe that was the outreach occurred through the letter process that was initiated through the city. Mr. Mayor, Commissioner.
Any other comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments?
Thank you, sir.
You may want to stay if we have comments. Any, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I do not have any hands raised at this time. I did, however, receive one written public comment from Sonda Gaub. Was a survey taken of these 105 households to add to this light district? They've been acknowledged in the public record.
Thank you. Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
just a comment before there's a motion revote. I do think that this is a lesson learned item, and I'm really excited about all the work that Director Danielson and the city manager have discussed about how we can really improve this process. We had 8.5% of the district protest this. But which I'm glad that we got that feedback, but I do really want to make sure that we use this as kind of a case study of how to improve our systems moving forward, to make sure that, folks are not caught off guard 20 years later, because I'm empathetic to, what that does for folks, but also understand that, over 90% of the district has not protested this.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I have a comment too, but happy for you to get a motion first and then a
No,
comment.
go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I appreciate the information, and I think, we're certainly not looking at a 50% protest rate, but a pretty significant number of folks that have reached out. To my knowledge, I don't know if we've received emails in support. Perhaps we received one, but I'm not aware of anyone proactively saying, yes, they want this. My biggest concern is the increase to property taxes for these individuals. $400 increase in property taxes in the first years is quite significant for these homeowners. And while I appreciate the materials that were included in our packet, I am still left with a lot of uncertainty as to how this cost is calculated by Northwestern. We just lack a lot of the information on exactly how it's calculated. And given the concerns we've heard from homeowners, I continue to be concerned with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any
And
other?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, just a comment from me as well. I echo what Commissioner O'Loughlin has just said. This is an anomalous situation, right? Because most of these, if not all of these, come up with a developer like we just did with Mountain View Meadows amendment, and we've done with a number of Mountain View Meadow amendments where in many cases, the developer is still the sole owner of the property. They're petitioning for it, they're opting in, or we get a situation where a group of property owners petition the city, right? We have a majority group of individuals saying, we want lights in this district and we're going to take on the costs. So this is probably unique. Highly unlikely you're ever going to see a situation like this again. The probably process-wise, in retrospect, best way to approach this would have been to go back and say to the property owners, exactly what Northwestern told us. If you don't want this, you don't want to pay for it, we're going to take the lights out, right? But have that conversation with the community, because some people don't want the lights. Some people do. Some people protesting it just don't want to pay for it, but they want the lights. And that conversation has never happened because we are getting the strangest petition that I've ever seen, which is an outside entity corporation coming in and saying we want to make a district on top of a group of people who, if they can't get to a 50% protest rate, tough noogies, they'll still get our rate of return on running these lights. So really the best way would have been, right, instead of the 5 of us imposing it top down on these folks, Northwestern should have laid some groundwork, gone out and talked to these people, gotten the actual support for this thing, because who knows if 50% of this district doesn't want these lights. But now they don't have a choice. We're sticking them with a tax bill increase. So it's a little disappointing that we're doing it that way, given the unique circumstances here and how we could have done this with a much healthier public and transparent process.
Manager Hollishock, one question. How many outreach letters did we send the neighborhood?
Thank you, Mayor. I can also have Director Danielson validate what I understand to be the case, which is with the first round, this a letter detailing the petition was provided. And then again, on the second round, this was shared. Now, I do believe there was some content specific to the point that Commissioner Halliday had just made, and I'll turn that over to Director Danielson to answer.
Thank you, City Manager. Yes, the second letter, both the first and second letter did indicate that should the light district not be approved, that Northwestern Energy may consider coming in and removing the lights. In the second letter, I did make a point to bold that out and to call it to the attention of the property owner that would be a consideration. So I did revise the letter to bold that note out, that could be a possible consequence of not approving the special improvement lighting district. The notices, the letters went out to all of the property owners in the district. So each property owner got a notice that this public hearing was going to happen tonight.
And during the first letter, did we have any protests?
There were, I'm trying to recall, I think there were 7. Yes, there were 7 protests in the first round of notices to property owners. And in this second round, there are 9 protests and 3 public comments.
Are those, do you think they're the same protests from the first and second?
Some of them were the same, yes.
Do you have any other comments from the commission? Okay, did we do public comments? Yes, we did. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
would move to approve a resolution creating special improvement lighting district number 399 in the city of Helena, Montana.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any final comments from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Halliday,
No.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Nay.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 3-2.
Thank you. A resolution specifying the assessment option for the street maintenance and improvement district number 1 for fiscal year 2022 and levy and assess all properties within the district. Madam Halshaw.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing associated with the adoption of street assessments for this year's fiscal year. It is the last item of adoption. As you're aware, we had information that was brought forward originally within the team, and we have completed an analysis again of the street assessment. We are not recommending an increase in the street assessments for this fiscal year. We did complete an additional analysis as requested by Commissioner Halliday. Again, the analysis revealed even greater problems with our method of adoption, as has been the practice in the last several years. And one of those is the carryover request, and that was what I was sharing last year. Carryover, because it was adopted in a previous year's budget, wasn't necessarily reflected in a final adopted budget by the city. That's been the case since the fiscal year 2017. So the adoption in 2016 of the fiscal year 2017 budget, and then since then has removed the final end of year revenues as well as the carryover. Those two data sets, actually those dollar amounts, have a significant impact on actual capital improvement projects budgeting. And we're very glad to be implementing some of the fiscal stability requirements, including the use of a capital improvements plan that tracks year over year projects that may have accumulated and the dollars aren't necessarily showing in preliminary budget. So again, this item adopts the street assessments for the fiscal year. We are not approving or requesting any increases, and open for any questions that you may have. And also Director Danielson is here should you have further.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission? We have any public comments?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised. I have no written public comment online. There appears to be no one in chambers to make public comment on this item.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to approve a resolution specifying the assessment option for the Street Maintenance Improvements District number 1 for fiscal year 2022 and levy and assess all properties within the district.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final comments from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Halliday.
Aye.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Okay. This is just, the next item is public communications. We're not acting on this. The following letter was included in the public packet as part of the permanent record as per Mr. Sandrock. Request he be made part of the public record. The letter was submitted. At this time, do we have any member of the public who wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no raised hands. I have no written public comment, and it appears no one here is here to make public comment in chambers.
Do we have any final comments from the commission? Without further ado, this meeting is adjourned.